Your problem is not that you don't make enough money per month, it's that the frequency at which you receive the money is too low. So, if you have a regular job and you're paid every 2 weeks, right? Let's say you make $4,000 for the month. Great. You are making $2,000 every paycheck. Okay, so you go 15 days to get 2,000, and then you live another 15 days, which is over 2 weeks, and you get your other 2,000. Okay, we all know by the time you get to this week, all of this money is gone. Okay, so how can we start to level this out? And you do it by changing the frequency at which you get paid. Let's say instead of making that $4,000 every 2 weeks, we're making, let's still use the 2 weeks, but we're making 8,000. Okay, you find a way to make 8,000. Well, that means that every 2 weeks you're making $4,000, which would last you a lot longer. So by the time you get to that second set, like the second half of the month, you still probably have some residual left over. And let's say you still get paid that 4K, but you only spent 2 here, so you have 2K left over. Okay, so you end up in the positive, and that's from making more money. But if you think about making the same amount of money over a different amount of time, this is where we get to investing. This is why investing is important. Okay, so if I'm making $4,000 a month and you're making $4,000 a week, we're making the same amount quantifiably, but because of the difference in the frequency at which we get paid, I'm making way more. Well, whoever is doing this is making more than the person over here. So you have to get your income to symbolize or model after that concept that I just gave you. So to do this, this is how you create this cash flow. I just posted a video about how to create cash flow with your paycheck without quitting your job. If you want to watch that video, it is available on my channel. So this is another cash flow video. The first thing is going to be your short term, and then you're going to have your medium term, and then you're going to have your long term. Okay? The reason why this works is because while you're waiting years to get your long-term returns, you are getting your medium and you're getting your small. Okay? Or you're getting your short term, sorry. So why this works so well is because, let's say the short term is like, it's the attributes of this is that it's going to be fast returns. It's probably going to be high risk, high return, right? Your long term is going to be very short. Well, not short, but it's going to be very slow. It's going to be slow returns, right? So this is 2 to 5 years plus, right? And instead of having your high risk, high reward, this is like, for the most part, very low risk, low reward. Okay, you're basically waiting it out. Now, the medium term is going to be the medium. So this is basically what's going to consist of that consistent payment. It's going to consist of that what really is the base of the cash flow, and also the passive income is mostly going to come from here. Okay, so how this works is that when you have any type of short-term investments, you take your quick returns, right, and you continue to put them in to your passive income, which is your more consistent payment. And then you put that money into your long term. And you keep feeding your short terms, which feeds everything else. And because this is investing, your money is growing along the way. So you're not just passing $10 to $10 and then you're passing it along into your long term for $10. No. For the most part, you might put $25, get back 30, and you're able to long term invest with that and make it into 100. So that's how that works. And then you take that, once you receive that 100, you put it right back here. Okay, so you're feeding this, but your money is also feeding the same system. Now there's two other different tactics you can use, and that is going to be your classic strategy and then a more high risk strategy. Okay, so the first is your classic strategy, and then let's talk about that one after. Okay, so your classic strategy is when you're going to this is basically the definition of that diversification. You're going to take how much money you have and split it up into as many things as you can, different investments, okay? As many as you can. Why? Because if Sally and Joe decide they don't want to pay, you still have all these other incomes coming in, right? But if you do the high risk strategy, this is the high risk strategy. If you do the high risk strategy and you're taking the same amount of money, but you're putting it into bigger pieces, if Sally decides not to pay and Joe decides not to pay, your amount of money that you make is way less. So this is the safer option, and this is more like high risk. Do I want to just put $100 or $200 or $300 or $1,000 or $2,000 into just each one? Or do I want to take that same amount of money and split it across 50 to 100 different investments? Okay, so those are the two other strategies for that. But this is why cash flow is so important, because when you work a job, you basically make money every month or every 2 weeks. So you're not getting any long-term returns, you're not getting any short-term returns, you're not getting any medium-term returns, you don't get anything. All you get is money that you're going to spend, and then that money that you spend goes right to the companies who are billion-dollar companies, right? And then you work for another month or 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks just to spend the money again and keep repeating the process. That's why you never have money, because you keep giving it here, you keep spending it when you need to be investing it, okay? Investing is the same thing as spending. When you have an investment account, you're spending money. Like, it's almost the same as if you go to Chick-fil-A and you buy a sandwich and the sandwich is $5 and you leave with a full stomach, but you don't have the $5. Investing is the same thing. You take that $5, you go, you buy, let's just say you go and buy an investment or a note, and then you don't get anything on your return. You don't get anything on your investment yet. You have to wait, and that's why we're going through short-term, medium-term, and long-term, because it's not the same instant gratification as spending money on food or spending money on consumer debt or anything like that. Okay, let me stop. But yeah, so that's why this is so important, because if you don't stop spending your money and giving it to companies who are just literally gathering up the money, like companies are literally gathering your money, right? So let's do this. This is you, and this is the companies, big companies, any Fortune 500 company. You get paid one time, They get paid one time. Okay, now the month starts over, you have nothing, and you get paid one time, and then they get paid one time. And do you see how every time the month starts over and you have zero, they're compounding. So that's why you never seem to catch up with big companies, or why it doesn't make sense for you to make $1 million in your job the same way they can make $1 million a day. It's because of the fact of human psychology that we spend money and we don't think about investing, which is literally still spending the money. Like, when you go into your short-term portfolio, your long-term portfolio, your medium-term portfolio, you're giving the company money, but they're promising to give you access to give you a return on that. That's the only difference. So you're turning that Chick-fil-A into Ruth's Chris, really. So that's about cash flow, short term, medium term, long term. And you can't have cash flow with just one. You can't say, okay, I want cash flow, let me start doing short term investing, because that's one thing. Okay, the reason why these work together is because you have the short feeding the medium feeding the long. When you get your return on the long, you put it back into the short, and then it just becomes a whole cycle. And that's the point. The point is to keep this cycle going and have it reinvest itself and compound as its own little cash flow machine. Literally, just keep the machine going. The only big reason and purpose behind this and intent is to keep the machine going. And you can't keep it going if you're getting paid like this and you keep spending and you keep just spending your money. Okay, put it into something that's important and start creating cash flow with the money that you already have.